Good morning. Welcome to the stream. How is everybody doing? If you're showing up, or if you do show up in the future, maybe watch this a little later, repeat of the stream. We're going to be talking today about a recent hoax that is so indicative of how the media, in and of itself, works, and how a lot of the what we call kind of like the fake news. You've always heard the term fake news, right? As far as like CNN, Fox News, all these people have that term that they're using. And then Donald Trump came out. In reality, that's the origin of it. If you can actually think back far enough, when fake news came out, it was actually a term that was said on CNN. And it was referencing Donald Trump, saying that he was fake news. He was making up everything that was fake, and he was making up stories and things that weren't happening and stuff like that. And Donald Trump then said, turned it around. He just said, you know what? I am not fake news, dude. You guys are fake news. So once finally Donald Trump got to that point where he was, I'm just going to turn my volume up a little bit more because I always forget this microphone is not quite loud enough. But yeah, so once you get to that point where Donald Trump calls the fake media fake news, and then they turn around and say, "Well, no, that's wrong of them to call us that." But it was their cat was out of the bag, and the reality was he was exposing what the media has been doing for a very long time, which is that they are actually not speaking news. They're propagandists. What does that mean? The news as an entity is something that just reports to you the things that are happening, right? I have experience seeing kind of like a different world of news because I also speak Spanish, and when I was a kid, I lived in Colombia, and I would watch the news, and the news over there were very different than the news in this country in the U.S. In Colombia, the news are just reports on things that happen. It's very strange at that time. We're talking, 20 years ago now, over that, and I'm probably 30. But at that time, the news were more um, two people were killed after, there was an accident on the street. And then afterward, the government has passed a new law that lowers the amount of taxes as a result of the new Republican majority. Like just reporting on the things that happen, right? And so I remember when I started watching the news here and I started getting older and paying attention to them, I started saying, wow, this is like a show. And there is very little news right now, even at this very moment in this morning. You can go on and put on CNN or, maybe Fox News, and you're not going to get news. You're going to get a little guitar intro, and they're going to be like, hi, welcome to the Talk About Bullshit. And they're just going to sit there and they're just going to like talk about a bunch of crap and then debate politics. And you think about it, that's not news. News, and I remember this is something I used to watch Fox Limbaugh when he was still alive, may he rest in peace. But he would say news are supposed to be a report of things that are happening where you aren't, right? And what ended up happening in this country is news became a method to spread ideologies. A very clear example, and we're going to get to the point at hand in just a very quick second, but we just have to make sure that we have some context here in regards to what we're talking about. A very early example of it was the myth of the very fine people on both sides. There was this myth out there saying that Donald Trump came out and said that there were very fine people on both sides of the aisle. And if you actually go to, I'm since we're kind of streaming our video here, if you go to, there you some ideas of what I've been looking up right there. But if you go to Trump, um, what are we looking up? Good people, is it? Good people on both sides. Right? There's a video of this. Very fine people on both sides remark. Okay, so let's listen to it because they're saying that he said that the people on both sides are bad. Actually, I'm very sorry. I gotta turn the audio back on for you guys to be able to hear everything. This is not the actual clip. See, this is also false. Um, we're actually gonna kind of stream here to find the actual clip of it. The nice thing, I love you, the new YouTube in regards to
anyone
this.
who acted criminally in this that bring us together as Americans. Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK,
So here he is,
neo-Nazis, white supremacists,
calling them criminals
and other
thugs.
hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans. We are a nation founded on the truth.
But I want to find specifically the point where he says, there are fine people on both sides, because this is
In Charlottesville, Virginia, I would like to provide the nation with an update
I'm gonna just
on the ongoing federal response
speed real
to
quick.
the horrific attack and violence that was witnessed by
this is
everyone.
like
I just met with
mini
FBI Director
DT
Christopher
right
Wray
here.
and Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
Mini-me
The
Donald
Department of
Trump.
Justice has opened a civil rights investigation into
Fucking
the deadly car attack that killed one innocent American and wounded 20 others. To ed on Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms
Here he
this
is.
egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place
Condemning
in
it
America.
initially,
And as I have said many
of course.
times before, no matter the color of our skin, we all live under the same laws. We all salute the same great flag. And we are all made by the same Almighty God. We must love each other, show affection for each other, and unite together in condemnation of hatred, bigotry, and violence. We must rediscover the bonds of love and loyalty that bring us together as
This
Americans.
is from the
Racism is evil,
Washington Post
and those who cause
on their
violence in its name
YouTube
are criminals
channel.
and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans. We are a nation founded on the truth that all of us are created equal. We are equal in the eyes of our Creator. We are equal under the law, and we are equal under our Constitution. Those who spread violence in the name of bigotry strike at the very core of America. 2 days ago, a young American woman, Heather Heyer, was tragically killed. Her death fills us with
We're
grief,
just
and we send her
almost
family our
there.
thoughts,
We're just
our prayers,
trying to
and our
get to
love.
the point. Just
We also
want
mourn
full
the
context.
two Virginia state troopers who died in service to their community, their Commonwealth, and their country. Troopers Jay Cullen and Burke Bates exemplify the very best of America, and our hearts go out to their families, their friends, and every member of American
High-speed
law
Donald Trump
enforcement.
is still pretty
These
cool.
three fallen Americans embody the goodness and
probably what he
decency
talked like
of our nation.
20 years
In
ago.
times such as these, America has
I remember
always
he
shown
used to
its
talk a
true
lot
character,
faster.
responding to hate with love, division with unity, and
mean,
violence with an
typically he
unwavering
talks
resolve
fast
for justice.
very often.
As a candidate, I promise to restore law and order to our country, and our federal law enforcement agencies are following through on that pledge. We will spare no resource in fighting so that every American child can grow up free from violence and fear. We will defend and protect the sacred rights of all Americans, and we will work together so that every citizen in this blessed land is free to follow their dreams in their hearts and to express the love and joy in their souls. Thank you. God bless you.
Gosh, I missed the point where he said that.
Thank you. I'm in Washington today to meet with my economic team about trade policy and major tax cuts and reform. We are renegotiating
man,
trade
he
deals
did such a
and
great
making them
tax
good
cut.
for the American worker, and it's about time. Our economy is now strong. The stock market continues to hit records than ever before. Companies are moving back to the United States for 1 million jobs since I took office.
I love that.
We will be
I love that he can't lose an opportunity to just tout his amazing economy. But I have to tell you, having lived through it as an adult, the economy under Donald Trump was ridiculously amazing. Before the crazy disease that happened.
discussing economic issues in greater detail later this afternoon. But based on the events that took place over the weekend in Charlottesville, Virginia, I would like to provide the nation with an update on the ongoing federal response to the horrific attack and violence that was witnessed by everyone. I just met with FBI Director Christopher Wray and Attorney General Jeff Sessions. The Department of Justice has opened a civil rights investigation into the deadly car attack that killed one innocent American and wounded 20 others. To anyone who acted criminally in this weekend's racist violence, you will be held fully accountable. Justice will be delivered. As I said on Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no...
Yeah, I don't think this is the video. Fine people. Let me just type that in real quick.
Putting what you're calling the alt-left and white supremacists on the same moral plane.
I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible, and it was a horrible thing to watch. But there is another side. There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, or you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is.
On both sides, so you said there was hatred, there was violence.
Well, I think there's blame. Yes, I think there's blame on both sides. You look at both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. And if you reported it accurately, you would say. Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as you, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. So George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him?
Okay, so just for the sake of Confederate general, I think it was the president of the Confederacy, if I'm not wrong. Let's put this back on. This is the very fine people on both sides myth. Just because we're kind of having some context here on what happened, we're going to do it on full normal speed. And they really did get him, just showering him with questions. But here,
they showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
They didn't put themselves down as you, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name.
So that's the full quote right there. And what they've equated it to was that Donald Trump was saying there was very fine people that had actually committed violence, and Nazis were very fine people. And that's not at all what he said. So just a reference of this particular moment when it happened. I mean, this video is from 6 years ago. So we're talking 2018, 2 years into his presidency. And the problem with that is that was fully controlled Twitter by the media and by not the media, by the basically a very market friendly corporation in Jack Dorsey, where he was kind of like allowing the people who ran all these large corporations to tell him who to censor, what to put up, what to put down, and it ended up putting him in a situation where everybody just kind of ran with this. You didn't have a large figure like Elon Musk who would come out to the defense, just on an ideological plane, from the perspective of like truth, right? I'm not saying that Elon Musk is a supporter of this guy. Clearly, he's put himself out as not specifically a Trump supporter. But now you have a change because this guy and wokeness, or this person, I'm not sure, believe there's a man, posted this tweet after the media started coming up with this narrative that there was going to be this bloodbath, that Donald Trump said there was going to be a bloodbath if he loses. And this is a picture of a tweet from Joe Scarborough, very, very, very obviously, very popular NBC host. Donald Trump's America, and he's proud of it, promised another bloodbath if he loses again. So they were saying Donald Trump predicted a bloodbath. Okay, so let's go back over here to the actual video that the Biden administration put out of this, just to show you how twisted this all is. This is the Biden administration's video.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it.
That's what they put out, saying that Donald Trump said if we don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. Well, here's the full video. It's just another minute for
a period of 30 years. 34% of the automobile manufacturing business in our country, think of it, went to Mexico. China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. Now, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. if I get elected. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going.
Did we catch that? That's ridiculous. The level of just media manipulation. Now maybe you don't believe it. Maybe you're just saying, "Well, that's just Joe Biden saying that." I have evidence, and I retweeted this article, and I do hope that it's still something that they haven't kind of deleted. Hold on a second. Let me go to my feed. There we go. It was just very recently that I retweeted this article. Hold on just a quick second because this is ridiculous. Oh no, it was actually a comment that I made on an article, and it was a picture. Hold on just a minute of an article from the Washington Post, I believe. There we go. Hold on. By the way, follow me on Twitter. I'll put the link on the description of the video. Here it is. Okay. This is from thehill.com. Let's just check if this article is still up. And I believe that it is. It may very well have been edited by this point. Because you know these Bloodbath. I believe I saw it on Drudge Report. I'm certain I saw it on Drudge Report. Okay, sorry about that. Here it is. This is the cover of Drudge Report, a very famous. People say this is a conservative news source, and it definitely isn't conservative, and it definitely isn't anti-establishment or anything like that. At one point, it was. I remember I've been going on Drudge Report myself for over 10 years, paying close attention to what I read on there, and it's always been a source for me to kind of see the perspectives. But initially, man, you would get articles on Drudge that you wouldn't find anywhere else. Drudge was quoting. I remember very often you had Drudge putting up links for Alex Jones. Yeah, you had Drudge putting up links for Rush Limbaugh in regards to the things that he was saying and exposing a lot of the corruption that was happening in our country. So it's crazy that now you have a situation where they're putting out this crap. Trump warns bloodbath if not elected, calls for Cheney to be jailed. And if you open this article, I believe it's going to go to, in this case, it's the Mirror article. Here it is. Look at this. This is the Mirror, the UK site, but I'm going to show you a lot more than just this, because this is how this works. Former President Trump has warned that if he isn't elected in the upcoming presidential, is going to be a bloodbath for the U.S. That's what he said. This is the Mirror. Okay, so no, that's just the Mirror. If I look up The Hill and Bloodbath, I'm totally not gonna be able to find. I can't fucking spell right now. Where is it? Man, I should have retweeted that. Actually, no, I do know what I found it because I made a comment on it on their post. Here it is. Ha ha ha. Thehill.com. This is, I believe, and I had to find this because this is the most blatant example of this crap that we call. This is how they quote him. Where is it? This is the quote that they put of him up on thehill.com, which is ostensibly a respected journalistic site. If I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole, and then hyphen. Do you know what's in that hyphen? The auto industry. That's right. If I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole auto industry. Oh, you don't believe me? I'll show it to you because I got it. Where is it? Hold on just a minute. I got it right here. I was just watching it, so it's going to be right there. No, actually, I have it on this site.
Now, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell.
See what they did? Do you see what they did? This is propaganda in live.
Bath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it.
Let's go
Every
back a
single
little bit
car
now.
that comes across the line, and you're not going to put a 100% tariff on every single car
That's what he's
that
talking
comes
about.
across the line,
He's fair.
and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
That's the freaking thing of it. They make that as the pejorative of the sentence, but it's actually his closing of saying that if the automobile industry is going to suffer. Now we just showed you Joe Scarborough, Joe Biden. This is what Joe Biden posts. I'll show you to you again.
Now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the.
See how they did it? They went and said, here's their statement saying that Donald Trump is promising a bloodbath if he loses. And it's a bunch of crap. Nancy Pelosi's on CNN.
Because he's even predicting a bloodbath. What does that mean? He's going to exact a bloodbath?
What do you think? This is, and then the good thing is we have somebody with a ton of money, with a lot of power, who is exposing these ideas. And it's very basic lying, man. This is how hoax are made in the media. And this is going to be happening over and over and over again over the next coming months, because this is the ramp up of election season, especially with all kinds of kind of propaganda and disinformation. Now we have freaking AI, and AI that can mirror people and kind of fake voices and videos. What do you think we're going to get as election season comes around? Now, the establishment has had to accept, because they were convincing themselves. This is the crazy thing. The establishment had completely convinced themselves that they were going to be able to just get Donald Trump to not win this primary. They really did. They thought, oh no, we have all the money. He's terrible. We're going to arrest him. He's not going to have the energy. He's probably, I bet you there were conversations where they said he's probably going to die before he even gets to the election, because we're going to stress him out so much with all the stuff that we're going to do to him. And guess what? The guy made it through. The guy made it through, and he's even more athletic now. He's lost weight. He's feeling better. He's all pumped up. He's jazzed. Because what they didn't count on is Donald Trump loves being in a position where he's not in the benefit. He loves being in the losing side, where he can be the underdog and win out. And this is the craziest thing. I forget where I was watching it. They said Donald Trump finds a way to, even when he's the president of the United States, still be the outsider and the underdog. So it's kind of amazing to see something like that happen. So you really have a situation here where they have now realized that he's going to be the guy. And now that they've realized that they're not going to be able to get their little kind of controlled opposition candidate in there, or somebody like, for example, Ron DeSantis, who I don't personally believe that he was controlled opposition. I believe Ron DeSantis was just young and not up to what was going on around him. I think he got kind of noobed. I'm trying to think of a word for it, but when you just kind of take advantage of somebody for their disingenuity. So essentially, he took advantage of the fact that this guy didn't know what he was doing. He specifically, like the Republican establishment, where you have a ton of rich people that are just donating, and really it's just representing corporations that want to lower their taxes and be able to hire illegals and other kinds of like things, which do what they end up doing is they abuse the people that they're hiring. They're paying them subhuman wages. Of course, they're doing it willingly. Why? Because the country that they're from is so messed up because of all these things that are happening in these countries, as far as South America or Central America, Mexico. And so these people have no option. So they do kind of like what they can do. And this country poses no opposition to them leaving. So it's a perfect solution for them. And it's a perfect solution for these corporations because they get very, very cheap labor. And what does that do? Supply and demand. That's all they're thinking. Supply and demand. If there is a high supply of cheap labor, then their demand will be met and the price will go down. Because as we know, if there's a high demand and a low supply, price goes up. If there's a high supply, and the demand is steady, then the price goes down. In essentially, so who is this hurting? Is this hurting rich people? If you're a billionaire, do you care that a million illegals go across it? No, because they're not billionaires, and most of them are not going to become billionaires. They're going to work for you. You want them to come across because that's going to make the money that you pay the people that you already hire not cost so much. That's what that does. So you have a situation where you're just diluting the work pool and it lowers the quality of the work that comes out of these organizations. So it's just a vicious cycle, and it's just very unfortunate, kind of like what these corporations are allowing to happen. Um, so just as a little bonus here, we're gonna watch a little video where RFK exposes kind of like what the racket in NATO is, and where are we? Right here. This is very interesting. This was posted by Wall Street Silver. I follow this guy at Wall Street Silv, and it's very interesting. Watch this.
When we bring a new nation into NATO, then the first part of that contract is that new nation has to conform its weapons purchases to NATO specifications, which means they have to buy their weapons from Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and Boeing.
That's clever.
And all of those companies are owned by BlackRock. And BlackRock is, the big
So they're
donors.
incentivized to expand NATO because the only way that they can increase their profit.
Then the first part of that contract is that new nation, when we bring a new nation into NATO, then the first part of that contract is that new nation has to conform its weapons purchases to NATO specifications, which means they have to buy their weapons from Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and Boeing.
That's clever.
And all of those companies are owned by BlackRock. And BlackRock is, the big
So they're
donors.
incentivized to expand NATO because the only way that they can increase their profits if they get more countries that have signed up.
Well, it's a whole market that they now have a trap market that they can only buy from them.
It's like Starbucks selling frappuccinos. It's like you want Starbucks everywhere. And oh my God.
Every coffee shop should be a Starbucks.
Yes. And then
So that's
we break
one of
into
the
a new market.
incentives. There's also, it's a confluence of ideological and economic incentives. If you look at what's happening,
That is it's a conflict of ideological and economic incentives. Is a very, very nice way to say that we're all getting screwed by this crap. But essentially, what we have is a situation where NATO is forcing the people who are participating in that organization to purchase from these kind of monopolistic government people, Raytheon, General Dynamics, Lockheed Martin, and Boeing. And what's interesting is a lot of these organizations are run by or owned by former government people. For example, Nikki Haley is, I believe, at this particular moment, if not in the very recent past, was a sitting chairwoman or a chairperson in Boeing. Had a very, very high up role. In regards to Northrop Grumman, you have I forget what weapon organization, but it was Dick Cheney, who was a very big orchestrator of the Iraq War. So you have big parts here where the government is just colluding to just screw us all over, which is, par for the course. I get it. I know that it's going to happen. But, we're in a situation now with the internet where we have an opportunity to share and to talk about these things. And I'd like for my channel to be a place for that in regards to the comment section. Debate me, question me if my ideas are wrong. But if you have a tip, information that you find interesting that we could talk about, it would be very cool to kind of share in regards to kind of confirmed information. I'm very careful in regards to sharing things that are accurate. As you can see, the sources that we're citing are like The Hill. In this case, showing how a lot of what they do is wrong, but the Mirror is a very well respected UK site. So we're really trying to go for reality and what is actually being said directly by these news sites, which can be refuted by the truth, especially because of the fact that now we have the internet, which is the strongest weapon that's ever been created in regards to changing hearts and minds. It's been so nice